Welcome back. You're watching India Tonight. I'm Shibani Gharat. Now, before going to the break, we had a very good guest, Arun Kumar, who was speaking about, the details of the deal and how it will impact India and also India's position in the region going forward. We had various comments throughout the day from different industry leaders, but now joining us is a very special guest. His name is Atul Keshav, who's the president of USIBC, of course, US-India Business Council. Atul, it's our absolute pleasure for you to join us on ET Now today. Let's get on with the India-US deal, and straight off the bat, Atul Keshav, you have spent months calling for an ambitious deal. Now the number of 18% is here. Does this mean, or does this satisfy USIBC's definition of ambition, or is it just a first step towards a larger deal going forward?
Well, Shibani, first of all, thanks for having me. Look, this is an important psychological message to both countries and to the business communities and investors of both countries. So it is a big deal. And we have to see now how the details unfold. I imagine there'll be some statements by the governments in the next few days giving us more information and insight. But I can tell you that what this does for the business community, and USIBC represents 200 of the largest businesses in America and India who are investing in each other's countries, is it gives them a powerful psychological message of confidence that we can continue our efforts to cross-invest and trade in ways that are good for one another. So I'm very happy.
Very happy. I want to understand what is the business community in America thinking about it, because the contours of the deal are still awaited, but much debated topic is, of course, the Section 232. What is the understanding you are getting from whatever comments which has come so far?
Well, there hasn't been that level of clarity in the announcements that have come out of both governments, on course. So we're waiting to see what new details we can glean in the days to come. Minister Jaishankar is here in Washington today. He's meeting Secretary Rubio in a couple of hours. There may be a joint statement that comes out between the U.S. and India in the next couple of days. I think we have to scrutinize that to see what implications there are. But look, what's happened here is that essentially a one-year pause button in U.S.-India relations has been stopped and a play button has begun. Because whenever you have a very complex negotiation between two governments, everything sort of goes on hold, waiting to see what the outcome will be. And every single possible dimension may get contributed to that deal. So then nothing can really move forward with a great deal of gusto. Now I think you're going to see many things go forward. We're going to see greater cooperation on critical minerals. Minister Jaishankar is here for that summit tomorrow on critical minerals. You'll see, I think, more work between the U.S. and India on the nuclear renaissance, aerospace and defense. Energy is going to be huge, both nuclear and oil and gas and coal and other things, agriculture. I see a very great deal of positive energy coming in U.S.-India. As I said, the play button has been hit.
Absolutely. Are you sensing an immediate sense of relief in the American boardroom, with the threat of tariffs or a large-scale trade war being averted now? And also, you have been a vocal proponent of, reaching that 500 billion, in bilateral trade with a 7% tariff reduction. How much faster does the clock start ticking, Atul Keshav, if you can tell us that?
Well, first of all, it's great to see both leaders continue to adhere to the vision of $500 billion in trade in goods and services. We still have a long way to go to reach that echelon, but if the U.S. and India can get to that level, it will mean that the two greatest democracies on earth will have done a very great deal of work to enhance their relationship strategically, economically, and technologically. And at the end of the day, our two governments still have a lot of homework to do. We've spent a year in a kind of a pause mode negotiating this agreement, but now it's time to strap on the rockets and really go. The world is not waiting for us. Strategic competition will not wait for us. The great democracies have to work with each other. I applaud India for concluding its free trade agreement with the European Union. It is good and proper that the great free peoples of the world work well together. So I think for business, this sends a signal of commitment and clarity. As the old adage goes, trade follows the flag. When the two leaders are saying such nice things about one another and they've made such ambitious commitments, then it gives business the sense that it too can make ambitious commitments. Because ultimately, boardrooms and investment committees have to invest tens of billions of dollars sometimes on 10 and 20, 30-year commitments. They want predictability. Capital is very cautious, understandably. And so this deal gives a framework that I think gives confidence to both business communities, American and Indian.
Right, Mr. Keshav, of course, this announcement which has been made so far has been music to ears to many of the exporters, stakeholders, as well as stock markets. But from Indian point of view, we are clear that we are very happy. But from US point of view, I want to understand, will this accelerate manufacturing into India, or you think that Vietnam or Mexico still scores high?
Well, so obviously India has an advantageous tariff compared to countries in the region, your neighbors and in the broader region. And so that is good for helping India be competitive on the trade side. On manufacturing, that's more tricky because FDI, of course, is something that goes where it feels like it can get the best and safest rate of return. The old saying is that capital is a coward. And so it looks for the place where it can most productively, long-term be put to productive use. And so this is where Vietnam and even China, and also to an extent the United States of America, are competitors for those dollars. And India has done a very great deal in the past few years to enhance ease and speed of doing business, regulatory coherence, speedier arbitration of disputes. There's been things like regulatory sandbox efforts like Gift City that have been very encouraging. But India still has a little bit of a way to go to reduce friction. And this is where, to the extent that friction can be more greatly reduced in India, it will result in more FDI coming to India.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Keshav. A simple question. India-EU FTA had been called the mother of all deals, and this just happened like a couple of days ago, in fact. So what kind of leverage did that give India? And did USIBC also feel that pressure that American companies are losing out to many of the European companies who are about to get preferential treatment into the India market?
That's a great question. No, I think I'm channeling Scott Bessent here. I don't think U.S. companies were worried at all about European companies. I think that American companies are the best in the world in terms of competitiveness. Indian companies are like that as well, the members of USIBC. Look, it's good to see friends do well together. I'm happy that India and the EU concluded an agreement. It's nice to have the free nations collaborate, but I don't think our companies were worried about that. At the end of the day, we do things together between the US and India that the Europeans can only dream of. We are best in class in terms of technology in so many different dimensions, services. So that was not really, I think, a driving factor, but I do appreciate what India was able to do on the world scene in stitching up all of these trade agreements. It's very impressive and a very tremendous turnaround from the India I remember visiting as a child a long time ago. And in this, I would say as well that, in terms of branding and marketing, when I was an ambassador, we always try to think of ways to come up with good branding. India did a great job with the Europeans on mother of all trade agreements. But what I'm hoping for is that the US and India will come up with a very detailed father of all trade agreements in the days to come.
Right, Mr. Keshav, lastly, I want to understand the timeline which you think of the implementation of this deal. Should we get, first of all, kind of initial kind of a deal will be announced first, or final deal will be announced later? Some kind of that arrangement is expected, or you think that it is kind of a done deal now, the implementation remains? And also, one more thing, me and Shibani had a question regarding how soon the brands of US will be visible in India. I'm talking about Harley Davidson or Tesla. How soon can we expect that, it will be much more there in the Indian streets?
And also cheaper. Cheaper, by the way. Will the phones be cheaper? Will the cars be cheaper? Will that happen for us Indians coming soon?
Well, Ankur, Shivani, thank you for having me. That's a lot of questions. Let me try to get through them quickly for you. Number one, this is arguably the first most substantial economic agreement between the U.S. and India in living memory. I think we have an open skies agreement, but other than that, there's been almost nothing on the trade side. It's one of the reasons I left government service to take up leadership of USIBC was to push for more ambition on the economic side. I have been whining and complaining in public for years that the US and India ought to do more to increase their economic partnership. And now I think we've made a big first step. So Ankur, I see many more steps to come. There's a lot of untapped ambition in the U.S.-India economic relationship. So this is phase 1A as far as I'm concerned. We'll have to see what phase 1B and phase 2 and phase 3 might be. We have to talk about services. The U.S. and India lead the world in services. Our companies are the best in the world. We need to have our own vision of services, semiconductors, critical minerals, nuclear renaissance, aerospace, defense. The list goes on and on. So I see a lot of scope for continued work. As to cheaper American goods, first of all, there are American goods all over the Indian market. American companies have been in India since at least 1901, maybe earlier. They are household brands. They are as Indian as anything else. American companies invest in India. They employ in the millions in India. They pay taxes. They're patriotic in India. They love working in India. I think that will continue even more if tariffs are reduced. I remember when I was a kid in India going there and you couldn't buy anything on the shelves. You know, it was the era of import substitution. Now with lower, if not zero tariffs, I think you'll see a flood of American consumer goods, and that'll be good for expanding choice for the Indian consumer and enhancing the quality of life for Indian citizens. So I'm very happy.
Absolutely. You're very happy. We are very happy. All the corporates in the country are very happy. I'm sure CEOs in America are very happy.
And stock markets are very happy.
Stock markets are very happy. Thank you so much, Atul Keshav. Thanks for joining us today on India Tonight. It was a pleasure having you.